committee to order at, apologize for being late here, at 1:05. At this time, let's stand up for the invocation. Our Father, which art in heaven, we thank you for the opportunity to do business of our tribe. We just thank you for the blessings you have bestowed upon our nation. And we just thank you, dear Lord, the opportunity to take care of the business of our tribe here. Guide and lead us as we make decisions. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Roll call, Shelley.
Yes, sir. Joe Bird.
Ani.
Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Bill England.
Here.
Keith Austin.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Hurley Buzzard. Sean Crittenden.
Ani.
Don Garvin. Wanda Hatfield. Rex Jordan.
Here.
Dick Lay.
Here.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Janice Taylor.
Here.
David Thornton.
Ani.
Victoria Vesquez.
Honey.
David Walkingstick. Brian Warner.
Ani.
We do have a quorum.
The minutes were mailed to you, so at this time I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I'd like to welcome the guests here today to our Rules Committee meeting, but first I'd like to welcome a special guest, the Chief of the Delaware Tribe. Chief Brooks, are you here? Would you please stand? Yes, and I see Mr. Nathan Young back there. You want to introduce your guest, Mr. Young?
Thank you, Chairman Bird. I have with us Assistant Chief Bonnie Jo Griff. If you'll stand up, or are you standing up? And the director of our company, who will be here, or manager of our company that's on the agenda today,
Okay.
Jimmy Johnson.
Yes. We're always pleased to have guests with us. So, having said that, we have our chief with us today here. Chief Baker, thanks for coming to our rules meeting. At this time, we'll drop down to reports. Our Marshal Service, Mr. Shannon Buell.
Good afternoon. Some of the stuff that did not make it to the report is the holiday went fantastic as far as the Marshal Service is concerned. It was very peaceful, very safe weekend. I think we had some record attendance at the powwow, but all in all, a really good, safe weekend. One of the things that is not on here, I got appointed to the Department of Homeland Security's Science and Technology Directorate as their tribal representative. I was asked to apply from the BIA. I went through the process and got appointed to that, so I look forward to learning something about Department of Homeland Security. You all might have heard or read that we were awarded a DOJ grant. We have not been awarded it yet. We've got sent a letter that we're on the list of people that have been awarded, but I have not gotten the award letter yet, so I don't want to be premature and say that we were awarded until I see it. How's that? So,
Yes.
with that, are there any questions that you have for me or my office?
Any questions for Marshal Buell? Thank you for that report. Okay, Councilor Thornton?
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I just want to commend you and your people on the Delaware situation. I hear they've really done a good job, those investigators down there.
Well, thank you very much.
Anybody else? Thank you. Okay, next we have Office of the Attorney General, Mr. Todd Hembry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. It's always a pleasure to appear before the Rules Committee and give our report. Major highlights of the previous month is that, as many of you may have heard, that the Department of Justice and Department of the Interior reached a very huge settlement as to contract support costs. It's one of many contract support cost cases that have been through the pipeline. $940 million has reached as a settlement. That settlement must be approved by the court. The date has not been set for court approval. We will be submitting motions and letters urging the approval of that settlement. It should inure to the benefit of the Cherokee Nation upwards over $8 million. It's we should be the largest portion of the settlement for Oklahoma tribes, and one of the largest of the entire nation. But I will keep you apprised as to the process of that settlement, and hopefully it will come within, I'm hoping within before the end of the year, hopefully within 90 days. Other major interest with the Attorney General's office is that we are working very hard in drafting an amicus curiae brief in the Supreme Court case of Dollar General versus Mississippi Choctaw Band of Indians. That is a case that is of extreme importance to all of Indian country. It involves the ability of tribal courts to have jurisdiction over the over civil liability over non-members who avail themselves to the economic benefits of tribes. We are very confident in the brief that we're writing. We know that we will be joined by other Oklahoma tribes. We are working very closely with the Choctaw and the Chickasaw in drafting this amicus, and we've reached out also to the Creek and the Seminole to get their input. The primary reason for our amicus is to respond to an amicus curiae on behalf of state's attorneys general that was written by Oklahoma's Attorney General Scott Pruitt, and I would urge you to read a copy of that amicus curiae brief by General Pruitt. It shows, I'll just be frank, his dislike for tribal courts. I found it offensive of the legal positions that he put forward, and we hope to respond in kind to his ill-placed legal reasoning in that case. We are, you will be happy to know that an application for land in the trust on the Hastings property has been put forward to the Bureau. We hope for a very speedy approval of that. That will help us go forward in our joint ventures. Hunting and fishing implementation continues to go well, and also on that front, it's come to my attention that the Choctaw and the Chickasaw nations are in active negotiations to acquire their own hunting and fishing compact on the very similar lines that we have had. So that concludes my report. I do want to make an announcement. We've had a recent addition to our office. Mr. John Tyler, I believe, is here. He is our newest attorney in the Attorney General's office. He is a Cherokee citizen, a native of Muskogee. You may recall that he was at one time the mayor of Muskogee and was one of the nation's youngest mayors. So he's a very talented young man, and we are happy to have him aboard. So that concludes my report. Concludes my report, and would be happy to entertain any questions that the committee may have.
Any questions for our Attorney General? Yes, Councilor Austin.
On the settlement, What's the restrictions on the use of that money?
That money will go into the general fund and be subject to appropriation by this council.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Good report. FOIA and GRA, Wynn Terrapin.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here today. And I would also like to offer my congratulations to our newly elected tribal council members. Excuse me. At this time, we have about 38 requests with one outstanding to be answered. The website's been updated with the 2002 to 2014 requests in categories, so it's easy to go in and look up different areas that you might want to see, whether it be land purchases, artwork, anything in those areas. And the 2015 is also on there. And I encourage everyone to go on there and look at it when you have a chance, or if you need some real light reading or something to go to sleep by. And if you have any questions about anything or would like any copies of the reports or any of the information, I'll be glad to take care of that for you. And I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Any questions? Very good. Yes, Counselor
I
Thornton?
don't have any questions of her. I just want to make a comment.
Go ahead.
Something Todd went over a while ago was, I know you all probably have been contacted, but there's been several people contact me on the hunting and fishing license, and they couldn't be happier about that. And I just wanted to make a comment about it here, Council. I hadn't got any negative thoughts.
Thank you.
Share it, yeah, share it too.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that, Counselor Thornton.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, moving along. Anybody from the Election Commission? Okay. We have, are you going to give a report, Martha?
I am not here to give a report. We only have to meet with the Rules Committee quarterly. So I am just here attending the meeting.
Okay.
Two things we're working on diligently, and I think it'll reflect that in the report you read: bad address list, and trying to get tribal members registered to vote.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Martha. Okay, we have Tax Commission, Sharon Swepston. Give us some good news, Sharon. Yes, she is.
Good afternoon. And I do believe you have my report. As I reported this morning to some of the council that was in the breakfast meeting, and Todd reported hunting and fishing is going well. We mailed out approximately 172,000 letters, and we've received back about 34% of that. About 19% were bad addresses, about 32,000 letters, and then we've received back about 27,000, about 16% of the actual updated forms that are coming back in. We are, my staff is working very diligently putting that information in. We're averaging about 974 a day, putting them in, actually the updated information into the system. So we're making a dent in it, and we're trying very hard to get there. Also, we did launch the online renewal system September 1st, so that is out there for our citizens, and that is being utilized. Right now, we're averaging about 10, 12 transactions a day on that, but I think as more people learn it's out there, I think that will grow dramatically. And that's all I have unless you have questions.
Yes, Counselor Baker?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On getting tags, car tags for the citizens outside the nation
Yes.
and outside the extended jurisdictional area, one of our citizens brought to my attention that you do not have to come to one of our tag offices
No.
that you can get local law enforcement to sign off.
On the VIN inspection?
Yes.
And they also have the VIN inspection now that's out there that they can actually do themselves. They just notarize it and send it to us. So it's out there online. It's on our forms list on the website. but they do not have to bring that vehicle in. And that's one of the reasons why the commission set that up, was because of our at-large citizens. So they can actually do that form, because a lot of law enforcements, there's a lot of them that won't do it.
Right.
So there is a form out there, they can fill it out, they sign it, they get it notarized, and we are accepting that form.
Okay, well, I appreciate that because it makes it a lot easier.
Yes, it does.
For large citizens. But I'm a little upset because I didn't know about it until one of our citizens, that
Oh.
it was never reported to this body.
I'm sorry, I did not realize it was not reported. I thought I'd put it into my report. I am sorry
Yeah.
about that, but yes, we did.
Okay,
That's
but we
been-
do appreciate that.
That's been since we started the at-large.
Yeah,
So-
okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Everybody turned in your card for your hunting and fishing update information?
Yes, Counselor Lay?
Not a question, just a comment. I've had several, it's usually grandparents who stayed their address current, and maybe the kids live in Oak City or Tulsa, and they didn't register to vote, they didn't buy the car tag up front, or couldn't, and so now they're wanting the hunt license. So and I think some of them have called you, given your folks.
That's fine. We've gotten a lot
how
of
do-
phone
yeah.
calls.
Other than that, how should they contact you?
They can go on the website at cherokee.org. On the left-hand side, under Services, Tax Commission, and then there's Hunting and Fishing. There is a web page there, and it's got all the information. It has our phone number. It has the email address. It also has the fillable form on there that they can actually open up and type in all their information, print it out, sign it, and they can either scan and email that back, they can fax it to us, or they can mail it to us. And the fax number, the email, and the post office box is listed on that page.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Thank you, Sharon. Good
Thank you.
report. Self-governance, Vicki Hanvey.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Well, as the AG mentioned, the CSC settlement, I won't go into that except to say that that's been a long time work behind the scenes, and it's good to finally see some fruition from some of the work that we've been doing behind the scenes. The settlement, of course, is for past claims, what we should have been paid in years past. We're also working with the agency, with DOI, regarding ongoing policy. How will we be paid and ensure that tribes are paid equitably in the future? I've been working on that work group since inception, back in, I want to say 2006. We have a draft policy that we've been working on. We're hoping to move that forward. We're actually ahead on the DOI side than IHS is. They do not have a draft policy as yet, and are still having some issues with tribes on how to actually calculate contract support costs in the future. But that's something that we're working on an ongoing basis. You have my report. I'll be glad to answer any other questions that you may have.
Any questions for Vicki Hanvey? You did good. Thank you. Next, we have our Gaming Commission Director, Mr. Jamie Hummingbird. He gave us these nice fine pens, so
Good afternoon.
took care of us today.
With your permission, Chairman, I'd like to give it to the ones that I missed.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. I believe the Gaming Commission report is into the packets this month. I think that's 2 months in a row. I'm going for 3. But in addition to the information that was in the packet, there's a couple of other items I wanted to bring to the committee's attention. One is I've come before this body before and bragged on the quality of staff that I have, and I'd like to say that I'm not the only one that sees that quality. One of my gaming agent supervisors, DeWanda Baldwin, has recently been named one of Indian Gaming's 40 under 40, and she's going to be recognized next week at the G2E conference in Las Vegas. So others outside of the nation see the things that I see in my staff and are recognizing for that. So I wanted to give DeWanda that recognition before this body as well.
Is she here?
She is not here. She is actually working away at Roland on a project down there, so she could not come away.
Tell her we're very proud of her.
I will pass that
Represent
on.
us well.
Thank you. Other news, we are just in the beginning phases of doing a audit of not necessarily the Gaming Commission doing the audit, but the State Compliance Agency has initiated a review of the fee payments that have been made under the Tribal State Compact. We met with those individuals last week, and essentially what they're going to be doing is looking at the reports that we have provided them and fact-checking and double-checking to make sure that they receive the right amount of payments under our compact. They have not done one of these audits for a number of years and wanted to go to a tribe that was, I think, a little bit easier, so to speak. We provide them whatever information they want to do that. Not only us, but C&E as well. They have a good working relationship with our gaming facilities to get this done. So we're going to be the first to go out, and then they're going to be hitting all the other tribes in the state. And lastly, the International Masters of Gaming Law are having their conference in the spring in San Francisco, and they've asked me to participate in developing their Indian gaming track. They're having a separate track for just tribal gaming lawyers and attorneys, regulators. They're going to be putting together something that's specific to gaming. So I'm going to be assisting them in developing the two-day training that's going to happen up in San Francisco in April.
Good.
So,
Congratulations.
it's a good thing. I mean, it's a recognition of all the hard work that tribes have put forward over the years, and also acknowledging somewhat the unique legal position that tribes have within the gaming industry. So it's a very good opportunity for tribes to have their piece of this great big puzzle focused on and have it recognized for what it is. And one last thing. The NIGC published the revenue figures for 2014, and we have shown some slight growth for the 5th consecutive year. This year, tribal gaming revenues came in at $28.5 billion. The highest growing, or the fastest growing segment of that growth was in California, but the second highest was here in Oklahoma, with the Western District being second, and we were third. So a portion of that growth. Testament to the success of
Mr. Hummingbird. Very encouraging report. Thank you. Okay, I see Mr. Nason Morton here from our Human Resources. Good afternoon.
Processing the end of year paperwork. So I estimate about 7,000 transactions come through during this time period. So have several people very busy sitting in their offices doing paperwork. Last couple of meetings we discussed a little bit on time to fill, and as we go through the end of the year, what we've been doing is we will produce a report detailing all the positions that have been opened and closed during the year, and we will look at those and we go by and talk to the departments and because each department may have a different challenge of why it takes a little bit longer to get someone in position. So we kind of tailor our discussion to their group. We do have some overall things that we did change that have led to what appears to be less time to fill, making it easier for the departments. And I have a preliminary report that will not be final for a few weeks, but I thought I'd take the opportunity to go through it and kind of show you what we look at. So what I have done,
Sure.
I did not have this prepared in time for the submission of the packets, and I apologize for that.
The rest and pass them down. Thank you, sir.
What I handed out is just a cover sheet with a couple of pages on a preliminary report I've added in. I have the entire report. It's 43 pages long and it prints in color, and I did not have that much ink, but I do have an electronic copy. I found out this morning it was too large to email, so I brought a thumb drive. So I have the entire report for you. I just, for purposes of initial discussion, a couple of samples. Now on the, I kind of put a brief outline, but moving to the first page of the chart, this chart does not identify any department or requisition number. I like to look at the first one just by straight numbers, and I've divided it into at the time period that starts when the first person, if you'll look at page 17 of 43, it's the first chart with the colored columns. We start out as the start date. We picked a uniform start date to say we're going to calculate how long it takes to get someone on board from the time the department puts a requisition into the system. And we're ending on that date with the day the person is sitting in the chair in orientation. Now, that may not be a uniform measurement by other organizations, but the date I picked was the day the employee would actually come to your department. They would go to orientation, and when they're released mid-afternoon, they're going to show up and ready for you to put them to work. We divided it. It took a few weeks to figure out what would be the most efficient way to calculate the days. So basically we picked large areas, starting with you decide you need someone, you put it in the system and do a requisition. Second step is the highest level of your department says, yes, I agree, we need somebody, I approve. Another area that we don't specifically track on this page, but we capture the information, is the time it takes for us to advertise a position. The next stage is the analyst, someone from my department, gathers all of the applications together, sorts them to see who meets the qualification for that job description, and sends all the qualified candidates to the department. Department looks at them, conducts interviews, makes a selection. Once the selection is made, it comes back for a background check, and then there'd be a conditional offer of employment, and we set a date for them to come to orientation. Now, for purposes of this, I've skipped a few steps because I'm just getting the highlights, and basically when it changes from one department to HR to back. So basically, I color-coded because one area that I had completely missed until we started calculating this is I did not make any allowances for the time an employee would have to give notice at his current job. And that varies by profession, so we started checking on that too. And going right to left, we have the date the requisition was entered, the date the department said, yes, that's wonderful, and then the start date. And then we divide that time up into time we attribute to the candidate. That normally the biggest part of that is time they have to give notice, or if we have a piece of paper we need from the candidate and it takes them a couple days to get it, we're waiting on the candidate, so we are assigning that time to them. But primarily, I'm thinking it is the time they have to give notice to the current job. The next column is for the department, and the largest areas of that is the determination of whether they agree they need the applicant. For example, if you'll look at the first one, entered by management, it was originally entered on March 30th, 2015. Well, it was approved by the department on 4/10/2015. So that time period is counted in as their time. So what we'll do, we'll find one of those, and I'll notice, well, that's about 10 days. So I will circle that, and I have on my sheet circle that, and I'll go see what happened during that day. Kind of know that's around Easter, so I just need to see if there's a software problem, there's a problem with how we structure the selection process, or someone happened to be on vacation that day. But we'll kind of look at that and see if that's an anomaly or if that's something that recurs in the system. So that's how we try to figure out if we need to change anything. The other part, as I mentioned earlier, is the department selecting a candidate and doing interviews. Now, we've been hearing a lot in the last few meetings about background. The green column represents the time it's in screening or background. And I think a lot of times that they ask questions on, hey, where is it in the process? It just happens to be at background at that time. And so those are the total number of days, and these are all calendar days, of how many days it's in background. The next one is the recruiter line. This is where the HR analyst who does, they do the portion where they collect all the candidates, send it to the department. When the department makes selection, they send it back to the recruiter. So basically, the recruiter is kind of in charge of making sure this whole thing happens. I have done disservice because in the recruiter section, I have included time to post, to publish. When it appears on the internet and it sits there for 5 days, 7 calendar days, well, that is reflected in their time. So what they have done is for next year, we're adding a column. So we will know truly, because, and I agreed with them, it is not fair that they count those days when they're basically waiting for the publication day to end. They can't do anything with it. So we're going to move that out into another column. So we know exactly how much publication is and how long it takes. But usually the minimum from this sheet, 7 days. And then finally, we have the total in the last column. And I just picked around the middle range of the time to fill based on everybody. I think we had 643 that opened and closed during the calendar year so far. And right now, I've got the numbers on the cover sheet. We're running at an average of about 68 days start to finish. And I've also, if you look on page 2 to number 5, I've broken down for you an average on about how long it takes in each category. And then I also have last year's numbers for you too. If you'll notice, the candidate section doesn't change much. Department section has gone down almost 10 days, and then we have moved ours down as well. Like, for example, last year we had background about 9, now we're running about 6.7. So they're coming down, and the reliable numbers I have to where I can compare them is basically I have last year and this year I'm working on right now. Before that, I could tell you about approximately when we started and when we had the end date. But I'm not real sure that we can show the end date as the day we made a call and said, hey, would you like a job? Or if we're using the date they're actually in the chair. So 3 years ago, best way we can calculate, it was around 85 days. And before that, it was about 101. But I have no idea why those numbers are like that. That's why we started dividing them down, because until I identified the actual issues that we needed to address, we had no idea how to fix it. So it's coming steadily down, and we're going to continue to have it come steadily down. And we're working on the big areas first that would be a challenge for the nation as a whole. Basically the same problem happening over and over, and we can fix it with just a process change or something else. Some of them could be, it's just that position is particularly hard to fill, either by location or profession, and that's more of a different issue. It's one we have to work with the department, with the recruiters, and just find out and get those people in the slots. So I know I went through a lot real quickly, and this was just my first introduction to it. And so if you'd like to have more questions next month, chance to look over it, or if you have any questions right now, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, Councilor Vasquez.
Yes, do you have, Nathan, a goal date average in mind?
I have one. I just need to know, I would like to know if I can meet it. I would hate to say it out loud because you would like to have a very short number. But when I started noticing that, let's just say I can never get the candidate portion because it's beyond our control. Say we never get that under 12, and we can never get advertisement under 7. Well, I'm going to double check my math. That's 19 days without anyone touching it. Well, if we add 2 weeks minimum to get an interview process done, and sometimes there are 80 people for the job, so 2 weeks minimum, sometimes more. That gets us to 2 more weeks. So now we're at about a month right there. So we're going to try to get a number. Basically, I'm looking for a number that I can't go lower on, and then we'll move on from there. But until I have a number in mind, I just don't want to. Yeah, 60 would be nice.
Yeah.
But as an average of 60, I have met 60 as a median. If you take all of them highest to lowest and pick the middle, I've hit 60. So now we'll see if we can go lower than 60. So basically, I'm looking for the number I can't go lower than, and then we'll have to have another talk and see what's next. But at some point, I know reasonably, especially with the departments, they have full-time job. This is something they do in addition to that, and I know finding the time, 2 weeks. I've asked that everyone be able to get a turnaround in 2 weeks. And if you'll notice, the department time has come down almost 10 days. And they are doing an amazing job, but sometimes when you're working long shifts, everything else, it's hard to coordinate getting the interviews in. But we're asking everyone to do 2 weeks. So if we can get that date to 14 to 21 days, I have a known quantity, and then at some point we'll hit a point where we just can't reasonably go lower. Don't know what that is yet, but we're going to keep lowering it.
I would just like to add that I appreciate what has happened and that it is being lowered, and but I always look to the side of the person needing the job really badly, and how horrible that is to have to go to work somewhere else just because you need a job. I've been there, so
Yes.
it's something that we should always keep in the forefront.
Because we would like to have the person who applies for the job know as quickly as possible, and we move, because we're trying to go as fast as we can go, at the same time maintain the quality of the applications and the quality of the process to make sure we get qualified candidates and that are ready to go to work.
Good.
Yeah, I think you're on the
Thank
right
you very
track.
much.
Anybody else? Are there exceptions to different departments on this? I know our goal would be 60 days, lower would be better. But let us say that there was a Job Corps, Sequoia, needed a substitute teacher. They can't wait 60 days.
As fast as we can get them candidates, we'll get candidates.
Okay.
I'm setting as a target, and the interesting thing about this, even right now, on the number of 614, half those are under 60. We're just trying to get more of them because they keep going down. We're just trying to get everything very low and as quick as possible.
Well, they
because
have gone down since you came on board. I'll give you that. And I appreciate this report. We'll have to digest a little bit more, but it's a good start.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Anybody else? Thank you very much. Okay, dropping down to old business, we have Councilor Thornton.
Yes, this discussion on loophole, allowing the candidate for principal chief and other officers to raise and spend money and escape accountability by not filing for office. They met this morning. I wasn't able to make it. We're gonna try to have another meeting this next month before, probably just before the Rules meeting, and go over all the information that's been turned in today. And I'm going over it, and we'll talk about it next month. So I'll table it to next month.
Okay. Got a motion to table.
All right.
We got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Opposition?
Not opposing. I do have a comment.
Okay,
if I
yes,
could,
Councilor Lane, go ahead.
Chairman, appreciate it. On this, this seems to be, might be, and I might ask the general board chairman, because I know you've both been here a time or two. On an overall election, not reform package, I'm not sure what to call it, but changes. I know the Election Commission wants to make some changes on timelines. I heard a discussion this morning, because those timelines got to be really tough. And I wonder if this might be able to be included in an overall election change package. It's gonna have to be done in kind of a slow timeline, because I think from what I heard from the Election Commission representative this morning, they wanted it done as quickly as possible, but we got to till the next election. We'd like to have that done probably in a year's time, so everybody knows what the rules are. Because some of these elections would be coming up a year from then, but I wonder if this could be, General, is this possible to include this discussion and/or changes in the overall election law?
The working group was developed with the idea of fixing the loophole, or as we say, the loophole in mind. And, you know, that is one of many election revisions that needs to take place. I would recommend that the working group, which they have started to do, take on any suggestions from council members, because Councilman Lay is correct. We have time, but we don't have a lot of time. A year from this coming March, which will be here sooner than you know it because of holidays, etc., we'll be filing time for the off-year elections and council elections. So it's imperative that we make the revisions, discuss the revision, and make those revisions that are needed. Because every time we go through election cycle, there's some things that work, some things that don't, and we are in a continual process to make this system better. So what I would recommend is, as everyone has ideas about election revisions, let that committee know, attend those committees as long as there's no quorum present, you know, and that I know just of my own observations of the election, that there are some ideas that my office has, and that we come in and we get everybody's ideas, discuss in those working groups, and then we come to the body, and then we deliberate it in this committee. And debate and vote and see what comes out of it, and then it goes to full council. So this is one part of the process. It's an important part of the process because is where, you know, these working groups are designed to be informal, to discuss ideas back and forth without the formalities of Robert's Rules of Order, et cetera. But everybody's ideas are important, and everybody's ideas need to be ferreted out. So in that regard, be mindful that when the working group convenes next, that, you know, if you got an idea, let's hear it and let's start discussing it, because we want to go through the process quickly, but we also want to go through the process thoroughly, because we don't need to make amendment after amendment after amendment. I would, being the tribal council attorney in the past, it's much better to come in with one comprehensive election revision, so everybody knows the rules when the next election comes along. And that would be my recommendation to the body.
That's a good recommendation, Councilor Lay. Something that we can incorporate into one project there.
To have one clean sheet,
Sure.
if it's possible.
Sure. Sounds good.
It's gonna be several pages.
It will be. Yes, Councilor Taylor.
I just want to say, I think the plan that we kind of came up with this morning is we've taken suggestions from the AG's office and also from the Election Commission, and then the things that the counselors that have been involved on this from the ground floor have been working on. Diane's gonna kind of compile those and get it out to everybody to look over, so that if you have suggestions that we may have overlooked, didn't think of, you can get those back to us, so that by the time we get ready to pass it, it'll be clean and hopefully everything will be addressed.
Sure. Okay.
Well, I might also comment, I stepped in on a little bit of the conversation this morning, and it wasn't about this loophole. It was about other things. And so that, I guess that's all well and good, but if you've got a work group that's specifically for old business number 1 and I guess 2, then the election attorney shows up and starts telling these 2 or 3 or 4 counselors the changes that he wants and the election commission want, which is fine, but not in that format, not in that venue. I thought that was out of line, and I'll just make that statement. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Thornton?
Yes, I think we need to bring together all aspects in this election changes, if we have any election changes. And I think that we probably need to meet on council meeting day next month, if we can meet before the council meeting, and kind of get this put together. Because there's going to be a lot of questions, there's going to be a lot of conversation going on about this. And it's not going to happen in an hour or 2 hours. And if we need to set up a special rules meeting to do it, then we need to set up a special rules meeting and start in the morning, because I'm sure it'll go through the day and maybe the next day. So this isn't anything to be taken light.
No.
And the election commission, they need to be in on this. Guarantee you, they need their ideas. You don't have to do what they say, but they may have a good idea to throw in there that will help them. And that's primarily what we need to do, is help this election commission and stop this loophole type elections. And that's the way I look at it. And I don't know if it can be stopped, you know, legally or any other way. That's the reason Todd is in on this discussion in his group. And that's the reason the election commission is in on this discussion. That's the reason we have our attorney here every time. And so I don't think anything's out of line as far as the discussions are concerned, because that's primarily what it is. It's a discussion, and it's about the election, about our elections that each one of us have gone through. And I'd hate to think that we couldn't do something, just openly discuss it, which is going to take place, and it's going to take place, and everyone's going to get a shot at it. So get ready, that's all I can tell you.
And I just have one more comment.
Councilor Lay?
I think that's correct. In an open, special rules meeting, not where 3 or 4 people are making a decision and it's going to shove it through and be voted on. Okay? So it has to be in an open, special rules committee meeting, so that everybody going around the table here can input, ask questions. We've all got some things that I saw some things in the last couple of elections I didn't like. I see a lot of money coming in. That's just a lot of money, and it's, in my opinion, causing us some problems, but that's just me. That's just my thought.
Mr. Lay, would you join the committee?
I was in an election, I think, when that committee was formed.
Yes.
And so I didn't have the time. If you want me to join that
I
committee.
want you in there, boy.
Okay.
I don't know about the others, but I want you.
If I'm invited.
You're invited,
But
as far
I-
as I'm concerned. How about y'all?
Yeah.
Okay. We need some more. We couldn't get over 3 or 4.
Once we see the recommendations from the committee, then we'll make a determination when we have the special rules committee meeting, okay?
Joe?
So, we're not there yet, but Diana Barker, you got you will let us know what those recommendations are?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, this working group never intended to do a final vote without all the council input. They just are trying to do all the preliminary work.
Sure.
And get everything to all the council members. But there's been suggestions, we've asked suggestions from the election commission. The Attorney General is also going to give us a list of his suggestions as well, and the Assistant AG, Chris Nemo, and Robert Garcia, before he was with us too, so we get all these. But the working group was never intended to keep out the full council when the finals. There's not going to be a vote at the working group, just putting things together, and then it will be before all the council.
The way I look at this, Joe, the recommendations will come out of this council. They won't come out of a working group. And that's the way I look at it. Everyone has to have a say-so, you know. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Councilor Walkenstick.
Speaker. Speaking on the election commission, I know the past election we had here a few months ago, there were a lot of constituents that were misplaced in their district, and I know Bill's retiring, but the election commission, I just want to make a recommendation if we could get a more accurate listing or location through GPS or whatever it may be to get accurate districts for our constituents. I had a lot of people that was misplaced, and other candidates, other councilors may have had the same issue come up. So anyway, just want to bring that to y'all's attention. Just have a good list coming up. Thanks, Speaker.
Anybody else? No, that was the understanding that I had, was the work group was just formed to make recommendations back to the full council through this committee here, and you guys have done a good job. Appreciate you coming together like that. That's not an easy task. I wouldn't want to be on that work group. But when you guys get ready, then to submit those recommendations, and we'll go from there. So, all right, we'll move on to the next item here. Yes, Councilor Austin.
Who else on that work group?
You've got secretary, you've got chairman of finance.
Got Frankie
Jimmy,
Harris,
myself,
Denise Taylor, Curtis Snell.
Curtis work.
Councilor Thornton.
How long ago was that group formed?
Right before the election. Yes, Councilor Taylor.
I just want to say something in our defense. When Councilor Thornton brought this it's not legislation, but this idea forward that we needed to work on that, the election commission came to us and said, by the way, these are some suggestions we think you should make. And the Attorney General's office had it too. We did not set out to reform our election code. That was not our intent.
Yes,
This
that's
just
correct.
They just came forward today.
Okay. All right. Yes, Councilor Hatfield.
When will the rest of us get to see the recommendations? Like, are they going to put it in form, or is there just someone going to report?
Let our Attorney General answer that.
Okay.
Well, I'll be putting it together after we get it all done. It'll be given to you all prior to any kind of meeting so that you all can look, and if you have any more suggestions or anything like that, and then we'll have a meeting about finalizing it. But it'll be a little while down the road, at least a
Yeah.
month.
It'll come back to this committee for open discussion for everyone's input, if they choose.
Absolutely. And what I, you know, I don't want to couch it in the mindset of when will we get to see it. This is all discussions and all documents and all suggestions are available for anyone in this room. That's the purpose of a working group is to to vet ideas and ferret out problems in an informal setting, so they can do the work to get it formulated into a situation or a style that the committee can then do the debate on. So anything that is being discussed, any piece of paper is available for any consideration and viewing and inspection by members of the committee. And as long as you stay below a quorum, anybody can attend, any counselor can attend those. So because that's why we form these working groups is to do that. So this is meant to be inclusive of everybody and everybody's ideas. And when it gets to a point that it can be formulated into an act, that it comes to the committee, and we can have, and Councilor Thornton is absolutely correct. It should be a special rules meeting, and it should be a multi-day special rules meeting. I've had the privilege of going through many election revisions. They are time-consuming, and as well as they should be, because we want to make sure that we have the best rules available that everybody can easily understand, and that we come through elections with as least consternation as possible.
Thank you. Councilor Thornton?
I just want to commend Diane Barker Harrell for the work that she's done on this. She's really done a beautiful job. She's brought forward information. Several other tribes' election rules and procedures, plus the state's rules and procedures. And she's worked hard on this. And this is no easy task. This is going to be tough.
I need you guys doing it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Councilor Thornton, you have the next one as well. Very similar.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Motion to table?
Motion table.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay. New business, Councilor Taylor, you're up.
This is resolution number 15-079, and it is a resolution authorizing the Cherokee Nation to become a member of the National Congress of American Indians and to appoint the tribal delegate and alternatives. And I would ask for its approval. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, Councilor Taylor, you have the next one as well.
This one is number 15-080, a resolution confirming the nomination of Sarah E. Hill as the Secretary of Natural Resources for the Cherokee Nation. I would ask for her approval. She is here.
Is she here?
She is.
She come forward, please.
And just wanted on behalf of the Principal Chief to say how proud we are to nominate someone who is going to exhibit such strong leadership, such intelligence in the area of natural resources. You could not pick a better candidate than Sarah Hill, and she is here and happy to answer any of your questions.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Discussion.
Like to speak up for this candidate, even though she's a lawyer. I'm going to vote for her. I trust her. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Taylor.
And I don't know if this is more Sarah or Secretary of State. Can you give us what you think this job is going to entail day to day?
I think this job will entail, and we've had some discussion, and of course anyone can jump in who wants to, but I think the job is going to entail really focusing. We have a lot of different departments now that touch on environment and natural resource issues. We have environmental programs, who's full of tremendously good employees who do great work under EPA funded grants. We have employees like Pat Gwynn and his department who do the seed bank, which everyone loves, and do a lot of other important work. But there's never really been an opportunity to bring a focus to that and to bring those departments together in a way that focuses the nation's, really brings that into the heart of the decision-making, environmental ideas and environmental concepts, so that we're taking care of our environment. When we make decisions, planning for good environmental decisions, not trying to just react. So that, to me, that is part of what this job entails, and also making sure that the Cherokee Nation's natural resources are being protected proactively against other intrusions, other state or other individuals who are representing a threat to Cherokee Nation resources, that we're proactively working on that.
All right, thank you.
Good. Yes, Councilor Thornton?
Mrs. Hill, I've watched you over the years, and I've saw you battle a little bit, and I really appreciate the job that you've done over the years. And you couldn't be more better for this job, because I know you've worked on our water rights, and you've also, I'd like to see you working on our gathering rights. And I'd like to see you go in and go through the procedures of the natural resources and check on the sole source type contracts and different type of contracts that's in there. And maybe switch around, make some changes in our procedures and natural resources. But I can't be happier than you.
Thank you so much.
Councilor Garvin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will you be getting into things like global warming and that sort of thing? Coal-fired generators?
We already have a global, or a climate change adaptation grant that Pat Gwynn was, of course, he's so smart anyway, was smart enough to see that this was going to be an issue we'd have to react to. And so we already do have some climate change adaptation, which is really about making sure that we're managing our resources for the conditions that we have now, and also for the conditions we expect that may change over time. So that will be a focus of what we're doing, making sure that we're managing our resources with the changing condition, so that we're able to respond if there are big rain events, that more so than what we're used to in the past, or other extreme conditions.
Sounds like it's going to be a hard, big job.
Please do not think for one minute that the scope of this task is lost on me, or the responsibility that it is lost on me, because it's certainly not. I take it very seriously.
Probably going to get very political also, don't you think?
Environmental issues tend to get political sometimes. That's certainly true.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else? Councilor Walkenstead?
Sir, you've had my full confidence when you fill in for AG Hembry on a couple issues with hunting, fishing, and car tag issues. And the questions, you've answered them directly, very informative. I think you're a great candidate for this position, and I'm thankful that you're stepping up to the plate to do this. So with
Thank you.
I thank you, and you'll have my support.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker.
Anybody else? Councilor Vasquez?
I would just like to echo what he said, that I thank you for stepping up and doing this, because I can't even imagine what's before you, but we appreciate you.
Appreciate
have my
that.
support.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I would just like to add, some years ago, before I got back on the council, there was a historic landmark decision, the Keepseagle case. If we had had this tribe, somebody your caliber, there would have been many, many Cherokees who would benefited by that. It didn't happen. We didn't have anybody of your caliber working for the tribe back then. So we lost out. There were some Cherokees that benefited from it, but at that time the Cherokee Nation wasn't too involved with USDA issues. So I'm so happy that we're finally filling this cabinet level position, and for sure you're well qualified. So with that, if the council would, I'd propose we do this by acclamation. Someone make the motion.
Motion to acclamation.
Second. Motion, acclamation, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I would like to be added as a sponsor if that's possible.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, dropping down to Counselor Vasquez, you want to handle this one here?
This is a resolution confirming the nomination of Tommy C. Bradshaw Wright as a board member of the Cherokee Nation Businesses LLC. I put this in form of a motion. Second.
Motion and second, discussion?
Mr. Speaker, Ms. Wright is here, and
Okay.
Chief's proud to nominate her, and she's proud to answer any questions.
Would she come forward? Tommy was our board member in the past, and she resigned for personal reasons, and now she's back.
Thank you for seeing me today.
Yes. Okay, any questions, discussion? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying, okay, Counselor Thornton?
Really isn't a question, but it is. Are you any kin of Bradshaw's down in Sequoia County?
Yes, I was, or I am. They're not alive anymore, I don't think.
I realize why you're saying was. When I was a boy, they were kind of on the other side of the law. And it wasn't the
J.K.
right side.
Bradshaw was my grandfather.
But I know where a lot of those graves are, where a lot of people don't know where they're at, the Bradshaws.
That's right.
So-
But yes, I was.
You're highly recommended, and I'm going to vote for you.
Thank you.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, one abstention, 2 opposition. Got it? Okay, congratulations.
Very much. Thank you.
Okay, any announcements?
Mr. Speaker,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to address the Natural Resources Committee meeting in October. We always have it at Delonaghy or Bull Holler. Last meeting, y'all kind of tentative planned at Bull Holler. We'd like to change that and take it to Delonaghy if there's any way possible.
That's okay with us. I mean, with me, it's up.
That starts at 10 o'clock. That's October the 12th.
Okay, October the 12th.
October 12th, and then, well, right after the meeting, everybody get back here about 2 o'clock for your regular agenda.
Make sure you, yes, yeah. Yes, yeah, make sure you communicate that to Gail and Shelley here, so we'll know where we're going. Might have to get a horse to find this place.
One more announcement, we applied for Buffalo, and they'll be here in the morning about 8 o'clock at Bull Holler, 40 more females, so just want to
Good.
tell everybody.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any more announcements? What's that? I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. We are adjourned.